We've got a very special episode for you today because I'm gonna reveal to you today how you're gonna get off-grid in 5 very easy steps. Stick around. And welcome back, another Friday, another episode, and here we are again. And I'm so glad you guys are with me for this episode in which I'm gonna reveal what I've been doing for the last half year. Well, I mean, even longer. I've been planning this for, at least over 2 years. And yeah, I'm gonna take you with me on my journey. And so I'm gonna tell you what that is. So yeah, let's get right into the presentation. Going off grid in 5 simple steps. I'm gonna tell you today how I'm gonna do it and how you can do it too. If you wanna see it in practice, if you wanna see it happen live here on this channel, then stick around and subscribe if you haven't already, because this is gonna be a wonderful ride for the next coming years. So first of all, off-grid, what does it mean? It means that you're completely cutting yourself off from the system. Well, completely, maybe not completely, but we're gonna get into that a little bit. But mostly, we're gonna not rely on this system anymore. We're gonna see if there's a way of living outside of this system. And yeah, this channel is dedicated to different ways of thinking, and we're not just gonna talk about it. We're not just gonna have guests and invite them and just gonna have them waffle on about. We're gonna have to experience it for ourselves, and we're gonna do it. So if you want to be part of that journey, then stick around and make sure that you're subscribed. All right, let's get into the presentation. So first of all, why? Why would you want to do that? Why? What is the reason for going off grid? Well, I cannot speak for you. I can only speak for myself. And so let's start with myself. So I've been living in our main capital of the Netherlands, Amsterdam, for over 15 years. And I was doing a freelance lifestyle where I've been doing a lot of wonderful project, met wonderful people, and I did some really great and fantastic things. But I found out over time that something was missing. And you can see me right here. The beard was a little bit shorter. I think this was about 4 years ago. And this picture was actually taken from my home back then. I was living next to the highway, and I was living in an apartment block. And just to have you have an understanding of the life that I'm leaving behind, I wanted to share this little video. Right, so what you're seeing here, this is a view from my window, and these guys, they were recording a video clip. So yeah, I was living right next to this, and I was making films myself, and I just saw that this is what people started doing. And at some point, it's a very iconic image for me, where I really realized, okay, what is my purpose here? What am I doing? So yeah, just so you have an insight. It wasn't a bad place to live. It was decent. I've lived there happily for 15 years, but as happily as you can be in an apartment block in a major city next to a highway. Yeah, at some point I started to notice that I wasn't in a position where I could actually achieve balance in the way that I wanted, and I felt the need where I could actually get more of that. I started getting this plan where I really wanted to make a radical change, and with that, I don't want to have the feeling that I wanted to escape something. I don't want to run from something. I don't want to flee from something. I wanted to make a conscious decision to do something else with my life. And that has led to a whole series of events, amongst which others, this channel was born out of that. Today's plans that I'm gonna share with you today also hatched from that understanding. So I want to live a lifestyle that aligns more with my own values. I wanted to be more in harmony with nature, with life, with everything that is out there, which is problematic to do within a big city. Didn't have a garden. I didn't have any other nature space around me other than what was there. And Truth to be said, the Netherlands is a very green area. If you look at it from above, I'm sure that there's definitely cities out there that are not that way. But still, you're kind of living in this condensed system that constantly is asking you for input to continue living there. And I just didn't feel comfortable in that anymore. I wanted to have a place where I could disconnect and I could really return back to myself whenever it was necessary. Most importantly is the last few years I've also come to understand that I want to have a place where I can have the freedom to make the choices the way that I want to make them. So I think this is a sentiment that has been shared with more people all across the world, particularly in the last few years. I think more people came to understand it, and I also think that there's a need out there for that. And so, yeah, I'm going to pioneer this kind of way of living. So that is why I'm doing it. Moving on. So, a lot of people are talking about sustainability. It's kind of become like a modern fashion word where a lot of people say, oh, we have to be sustainable, sustainable this, sustainable that. I don't see sustainability as a goal. I see sustainability as a natural consequence. Once you live a life where everything is in harmony, then sustainability is a natural consequence of that. So I want to have the opportunity to have a chance where I can actually bring me, myself, my surroundings, and any animals or nature or whatever. I want to bring that into harmony and then see, okay, how does this function? And then have that function guide me to whatever is the natural way of moving on. So it is a extension of my personal values instead of that it is a goal in itself to achieve, right? Because otherwise you get into all these kind of, let's say, solutions that have a global goal set, right? Such as reducing CO2 or, any kind of ideas that are still owned by the majority of people that want to sell you an idea. And I'm not really into that. I'm more about the personal responsibilities that I want to take and I want to give for the life that I'm living. I want to step away from worrying about my ecological footprint and instead more thinking about how I can feed the ecology so that the ecology can thrive, so that nature can thrive, so that humans can thrive. And I think that's a better way of looking at it. And so with that, there also comes an understanding of what we do with bills. We have in a modern system, we have a lot of bills to pay. There's a lot of things that we need. And I don't know if you noticed, but the internet, for instance, it has changed a lot. A lot of things that used to be like a one-time purchase now has been subscription. So if you have a lot of subscriptions, those add on over time and you get like your regular cost. Well, I don't want any subscription. I don't want a subscription for my waste disposal. I don't want a subscription for feeding me energy. I want to get all of that into my own domain. And to be able to do that, you need space, you need availability to do that on your own land. So I want to reduce the long-term cost and I want to get rid of all those unwanted systems to live in freedom. And so that requires an investment. And those investments I've been doing for over the last few years, and they have been over time adding up, and a significant amount has already been invested. However, the idea is that over the long term, these investments, they will provide me a life with lower costs. And so that's a big reason to continue with this. The end result is then a shift towards a more healthier, longer, self-sustaining life. And the consequence of that is financial freedom. And we're back with our official sponsoring block. Of course, our great sponsor, druidsecret.com. Druidsecret.com for all your medicinal secrets that you might need for the modern age. Today, I want to highlight one particular kind of medicine that's on this website, and I've talked about this before, but let's scroll down to this website so you can just easily scroll down. You see a little bit of all the things that they have with the health stuff, with the mushroom kind of elements, and then you have the cannabinoids, which also includes a wide range of CBD oils, but then you have the Pro HHC, and this in particular, and I want to talk about the Pro HHC. You have the 10%, you have the 20%, so let's click the 20%. A good friend of mine, she is a terminal, she has been for the last couple of years, and she has decided not to treat herself in a hospital with modern medicine, and she has decided to take her own route. And by doing that, I advised her to at least take a look at the Pro HHC. She has confirmed back to me that it has helped her very much to sleep in the evening. She also takes CBD with particular band-aids. In the evening, she takes the Pro HHC, and she said it definitely helps to get through the night because, you know, sleepless nights because you're in agony, you're in pain, you know, that's not a comfortable thing to have. You know, it just goes to show that for people who have a severe illness that is difficult to deal with on a regular basis, there are solutions out there that can help the pain, that are not invasive for the body, that are natural, and that can have a severe benefit. So just to go to show that there's a wide range of options out there. If you're in any kind of situation where you need something to help you out, just go to druidsecret.com, use the code Paradigm Shift, you get a 5% discount. With that, you're also helping out the show, you get a quality product, and therefore, you know, 1 and 1 and 1 is 3. We're all helping each other out. It's a mom and pop store. It's not just one big conglomeration of pharmaceutical people who are in there. You know, it's an honest, healthy store, and I'm very happy to recommend those to you, and I'm very happy to be associated with this product. So with that, let's continue back to our episode. And so a particular phrase has been going around the last few years where people say, you will own nothing and you will be happy. Well, my particular phrase that I want to put on top of that is, you will own everything you need and you will find fulfillment in self-reliance. And that is my mantra. So I want to replace that mantra with this mantra, which I think is a way more better one. Feel free to use it yourself. It's an open source mantra, which I think all mantras are open source. Anyway, continuing on, very important if you want to have an understanding of how to live harmoniously is that you experience the direct consequences of what it is that you're doing. If you are flushing down a battery down a toilet, you know, which I hope most conscious people are not doing because they understand what they're doing, but you know, sometimes it happens. A child or whatever, an accident, it can happen. However, I want to have the direct consequences of that. What's happening much more often, for instance, is that people still are cleaning their toilet with bleach. If you're having a compost toilet, if you're managing your own waste, then you know that using bleach is the most detrimental thing that you're doing, because you're killing all the bacteria. The bacteria cannot feed under your waste anymore. Then therefore you will not be able to feed your plants anymore, and therefore you will not be able to feed yourself anymore. That's the reason why I want to experience that. I want to be able to say that what I'm doing is complete circular, and that I'm not reliant on any external output anymore. It's not for nothing that the logo of our show is 2 circles. The circle stands for eternity. And once we get that eternity going, then we can also have a surplus on that. And then we're not living in a system of taking anymore. We're living in a system of surplus. So those are the main reasons of why I want to do it. And once you have that figured out, once you have that, you have the seed from which the entire tree can grow. If there's any reason, if you're doubting for why you should do that, perhaps this is helpful for you. So continuing on, moving on, that was step 1. So step 2 is location. Location, location, and location. Because the location is one of the most important things. Always, wherever we were shooting a film or whatever, location the most important thing. And that's because it's the environment that you have to deal with, you have to work with. And one of the most important things to do is to prioritize your opportunity. And I've used this map before in our last episode, and I think it's a good map. This map shows where land degradation is happening around the world. And so if you're wondering like why desertification is happening all around the world, where deforestation is happening around the world, this map is kind of helpful. Like, where do you want to go? If you want to invest into your surroundings, you want to invest into your life, where you want to have your immediate surroundings be abundant and to be sustaining you, then look at where it is mostly needed. Because you can do this in an area where nature is already abundant, of course, but it would be much better for this earth if we would have all kinds of oases where nature can spread out from, because nature is abundant in itself. But what we have done is we have shared all of the surface of the earth, and we have shared it from its natural system. There's a lot of places there's no topsoil anymore. There's no systems that will give balance, that will give harmony. So it's important, I think, to keep that in mind where you want to go. Also, keeping harmony in mind, you don't want to go to a place where it's really, really hard to set something up, where you don't have any of the resources to do what you want to do. Then you're also making it harder on yourself. So there's a little bit of a balancing, like, okay, how far do I want to go? How much adventure do I want to go? With all of that in mind, if you're looking around, keep it in mind. We're not millionaires. At least I'm not. Not yet. But meanwhile, there's other places on this earth that have been abandoned because, people have plundered them for its natural resources and then left them because they don't see any opportunity there anymore. Well, it doesn't mean that they're not available for living anymore. So look around for opportunities where land, they might have had a lower valuation, but they might still be easily transformed into land that has a new value. So, for instance, domestic value for perhaps growing a forest on it, where there might have been a forest before, but underneath the soil might not be easily used for agriculture, for something like that. So that would be a good place for you to grow a food forest, for instance. Think in opportunities instead of systems where you extract only. The restoration of ecology is not about you, it's about the environment, and you can live in that environment. So look for opportunities. Degraded land could very well be cheaper, but also, there's the other side of the coin, yin and yang. There also could very well be something that might look cheap, that might look like a good opportunity, but it's actually not. I have actually heard about stories of people who have bought a piece of land, and then later on they found out that there was a nuclear waste dump on it. And yeah, so it might be good to take a Geiger meter with you when you're looking for land. So look out for whatever puddle you might step into. All right, so continuing on, it's not that people who want to live off grid all of a sudden want to become a hermit. I mean, there's wonderful places to live out there in the wilderness. There's fantastic beauty, nature, scenery out there. However, the reason why it has been conserved like that is because it's away from modern industrial life. Often what you want to find is something in between. So look for land that has been mismanaged, or look for perhaps farms that have not been properly managed, or ignored pastures or something like that. And you want to be close to all kinds of facilities such as fire brigade or emergency situations. If ever someone has an accident and you want an ambulance to be able to get there. So have some place that is not too far from modern society, but still be able to be close to it. The idea is not to detach yourself and be a hermit and live secluded. I mean, if that is what you want, then yeah, please do it. But if you enjoy living in a community, then make sure that you're connecting up with a community, because there's benefit into that as well. So really have a think about where you want to go and how that place is situated. So yeah, that's just, good common sense advice. Okay. And then the land that you want to be on is often it falls under a particular jurisdiction, and that jurisdiction has rules about what you can do on that land. For instance, you might not be able to build on that land, or building on that land might be engaged into a particular kind of rules. I know, for instance, the EU has a lot of rules about what to do with particular kind of ecosystems. Now, often these are very, very precise about protecting one kind of species, or be very deliberate about making sure that one kind of salamander has the habitat to survive. And of course, once you're doing ecosystem restorations, that salamander will happily live in the place that you're living in. But the localities that are being pressured to use these kind of rules, they don't think like that. They are thinking of all the people who are not doing that. Yeah, make sure that those rules and those regulations line up with what you're thinking about, and therefore that's the way that those regulations will not block you from doing what you want to do. So with that in mind, think about everything that you need. Think about water rights. Think about constructions. You're not living in a vacuum. You're still living in this world. The only thing that is cool about OffGrid is that once you have all that figured out, then that will be your little dome of freedom. So you have to kind of understand that you're like a little kingdom within a kingdom. If you're on good terms with the king above you, then you will have all the freedom that you want. So, moving on. So, this is it for me. Portugal. There's a lot of consideration. I've looked to Spain first because there's a lot of desertification happening in Spain, and I really wanted to do something about that. However, I also want to have some form of comfortable living, and to be able to do something in Spain in the middle of the land where it's very hot in summer and can be very cold in winter. That's not the kind of environment that I wanted to live in. And also, I'm a coast dweller. The coast is in my blood. Yeah, Portugal seemed the right option, and there's a lot of benefits for it. For instance, I can travel it by land, so I'm not on an island somewhere. I can always get on the road and go wherever I want to go. There are more opportunities out there, less regulations than, for instance, it is in the Netherlands, where I'm at right now. And there's more off-grid living done by other people. So I'm not the first one to go there. I'm not the first pioneer. So I can always look and see how other people have done things. Also, there's good water quality in the ground. So if you're lucky and you get a piece of land that has a well or something like that, then you get the cleanest water that you can get right out of the earth if it's not polluted. So all of these things made it very attractive for me. And then the last piece that really made me push for it, it is warm, it is wet. In the summer it has a dry climate, but of course you can kind of combat that a little bit if you do smart water harvesting systems. Then all of a sudden you get a wide range of ecology that you can grow there. So thinking in food systems, but also thinking in farmland and all of these things, there's a wide range of plants and shrubs and vines and all of these things that you can grow in a particular kind of place. All of that in mind, it seemed that Portugal was the right option, at least for me. There's a couple of cons as well, so I've written them down. It's relatively far away. So for me, it is an immigration. There's a massive wildfire problem in Portugal. One of the reasons what it has to do with is invasive species. So it's all interrelated problems with ecology. So you could say, well, that's a reason not to go there. Well, I mean, for me, it's more of a reason to actually go there, because if it wasn't needed to do something about it, then there would be no need to go there. It is a con. You don't want to be burned alive or suffocate into a cloud of smoke. However, there's also reasons to deal with that. And on the other hand, wherever you go, I mean, some people, they live on the most fertile land on the base of a volcano. Other people, they might live in earthquake territory. Other people, they might live in a place where ice and freezing happens. I mean, every place that you really want to go and you really want to go off-grid, it has its own challenges. Taking that in, I think it would be a good opportunity. For me, I'd have to learn an unknown language. I don't speak any Portuguese. I speak a little bit of Spanish, but I am learning it. There's some handy apps on my phone that will help me, push me, learn a little bit every day, and I'm really dedicated to that. So I am learning some Portuguese. Lastly, the economy, especially in the rural areas, is not very attractive. There's not a lot of money to earn there, and that's the reason why a lot of land is available there. So yeah, I'd really have to make sure that my off-grid system is working in that kind of way. So all of that considering, I think this would be the best option for me. So learn from that, take all of your own options into account, any place that you want to go close to. If you're in the United States or anywhere else, think about where your promised land, where it would be. All right, moving on. We're going into step 3, the essential necessities. So first essential necessities, you can see a picture, and this is a picture of my first studio. For those of you who have been with me, who have been subscribed since the very beginning, this was where I was living before, and you can see those 5 solar panels. Those are mine. I've collected those, and those will come in handy whenever I move to Portugal as well. So I've also gathered some motor engines that can also give back some electricity. So collecting all of those things will definitely help once moving off grid. Once you have an engine and you can spin it, for instance, you put it into water, like a water scoop, it will continuously generate some electricity. It's not a lot, but you can run LEDs on it, so you'd have free lighting doing that. Also an option is wind. However, you have to always consider what are my local options. Now, local options in Portugal, sun will always be there, so solar panels are definitely handy. Also, a backup generator would definitely be a good thing to have. And for all of you techies out there who have been watching my shows about free energy devices, I'd really love to have a place to just experiment a little bit to see what we can come up with. So I know a lot of people have been commenting, a lot of people who have been subscribed have been talking about what kind of options are out there, and we have been talking with some inventors as well, and I really believe we're on the verge of this thing breaking out. So if it breaks out, then I would love to be one of those testing places where we could actually live off grid and we could have a free energy device, and we could use all that free energy to use it for the benefit of humanity. Moving on, we will get into water. Water is very important, and we will make one specific episode about water. Water is one of the most important things in your life. If you consider out of 70% water, you have a water intake every day. What is in that water is very important. There's a lot of pollutants out there, and there's a lot of problems with our ingestion of water. And of course, the question is, how do you make that water safe to drink? Where does it come from? Do you collect it from the air? Do you get it out of a well? Do you get it from old sources, maybe deeper into the earth? Those are all questions that are good to have an understanding of. I believe there's about like 200 different tests about what you can test, what is in your water. It's an interesting question that we should definitely look into. We have some water experts conversations planned to showcase on this channel. Further on, we want to really try to see if we can have some technology on our off-grid system to really revitalize the water and to really have all animals, all plants, and all humans in that particular kind of area, see if we can have them thrive on new sources of technology and new understandings of how we can have that water revitalize our environment. And we're going to broadcast it all on this channel. So if you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe, because although this might not be the kind of channel where we're gonna do spectacular kind of episodes, like today we're gonna solve world problem number one, I don't think that the world functions in that way. That's not something I believe in. However, I do believe in slow and steady progress, and that's what we're building here. So if that's something that you really like, hit that subscribe button. Yeah, we're doubling up our sponsorships for this episode today because, yeah, of course, we have to get some kind of income with that. So if you don't want that, please make sure that you go to our Patreon. But as long as you're staying here on YouTube, you watch them for free, then I really want to recommend organicacbd.com. That's organica-cbd.com. If you are looking for any kind of alleviation for any kind of problems that you have, any kind of painkiller, or any kind of natural form of getting some well-rested sleep, if you have trouble sleeping, for instance with back pain, or if you're laying awake at night because maybe there's something stressing you or whatever, or perhaps if you're a female, you're having your menstrual cramps every month and you're having trouble regulating that, or if you're maybe an old person, maybe you're having trouble with some arthritis, or maybe issues with some other things, maybe you're having trouble eating, try organica-cbd.com. Use the code paradigm shift. You get a 5% discount. I promise you it's a quality product. It's not something that you just get at a regular store, your local Walmart, or any other kind of product. So give it a try. Use organica-cbd.com. That's organica-cbd.com. Use the code paradigm shift. I mean, if you think you ordered something and you think the doses is not good enough, they have a 10%, they have a 20%, they have a 30%. If you need something that is really quality and really sufficient for what you need, they all have it. So go check it out. There's even some for sale right now, so you get more of a discount if you order more of them, and if you order more than 100 euros, then you get free shipping. So go to organica-cbd.com. That's organica-cbd.com, and use the code paradigm shift. You're helping out the show, you're helping out the mom and pop store, and you're helping out yourself by getting some good quality medicine. Now, with that said, let's continue back to our regular episode. Okay, moving on. Heat. Heat is very important, especially in winter. Right now, outside of winter here, it's kind of freezing, even during the day. If we're moving down to the south of Europe, we will live in an environment that will most likely not go below 0 degrees Celsius. And that's going to be a great help for just being able to heat up and to minimize our amount of fuel consumption. However, we still might need that fuel consumption. And for me, the most abundant source and my own preferred source of heat is burning leftover wood that has already multiple uses, perhaps wood that comes from invasive species that should maybe be diminished a little bit in favor of other species. There's all kinds of properties that you can get from a wood stove, and I think it's very much undervalued these days, and I think it's important that we bring the use of wood consumption back. It's very natural, it brings us very close to nature, and as long as you can be happy with that, that is good enough. Further on, there's other systems. I really like the passive solar heating systems. We've made an episode about earthships, so if you're into that, please look into that. There's all kinds of other systems. When we're using electricity, at some point you might have an excess of electricity. For instance, if you have a lot of sun and you're not using up all that sun at the same time, then what you want to do is you want to store that electricity. You want to use it up and you want to store it into heat, for instance, in a water tank. So all of that is all very important to consider. Lastly, one of the most important things is a modern necessity. It's an essential that we have it because we're in this world where we are also always communicating. We're always getting information. If we have a problem or something like that, what do? You YouTube the problem, you Google the problem, you ask ChatGPT. This is going to be more and more proliferate in the future. So we don't want to disconnect ourselves. We want to be able to connect with our online community, which is you guys. As important as the offline community is the online community, especially when troubleshooting, when sharing, when inspiring each other. We need the internet. And so therefore, we have Starlink. I'm a big fan of that innovation. I think it's important that we have internet all across the world, especially in settings that are not connected up with linear grid line. It's good that we have a satellite connection and that we can get high-speed internet that way. There's also, of course, there's cellular hotspots, although I'm not a big fan of that radiation, so I would prefer satellite internet. But yeah, there's options out there. However, the problem is, of course, once we go off-grid and then we all of a sudden we have a bill for Starlink. So how are we going to pay for that? Well, that's a good question. So maybe you have noticed already that we have upped the sponsors in this episode. We're going to have multiple sponsor breaks during these episodes, and that is because I really want you guys to get in contact with our sponsors, because I'm only promoting the sponsors that I feel really good about, that I really feel like I have a good connection with, that I hope that they will also become part of your community. But at the same time, it's also a source of income from us once you order from them. And also, if you want to view these episodes without sponsorships and you really want to see how we're doing, how we're figuring out how is the world changing, how is the paradigm shift forming, and you want to support us, then for this moment on, we're also on Patreon. Let me show you. So here we go. It's our Patreon site. So go to patreon.com/paradigmshift for you. That's our Patreon handle. And if you want to support us, then go there. You can get a subscription for €5 a month. And then therefore you get the episodes without any sponsorships. And also you get some updates about our off-grid adventure. So every time you get an update and you see, okay, how we're doing, what are we doing, and you get a little bit of an inside scoop. So that's also a part of this plan. And I want to invite you, if you're supporting these kind of ideas, if you're supporting that this channel will survive on its own, then please become a Patreon, and we'll see you there. Okay, so that was it for step 3. Step 4 is shelter. Okay, shelter. We really need shelter once we're going to go to a piece of land where nothing is there. I mean, you just got to imagine like a blank slate. There's no electricity, there's no water, there's nothing there. There's no shelter. And shelter is very important. So we have a couple of options. We have the immediate shelter options, which would be a tent or a caravan or a camper van, something like that, something that you can easily put up and you can just work through the phases once you get that going. But you need dry spaces, and so there's another option out there, which is, for instance, it's like a ready-made setup. So for instance, like a shipping container home or a pre-built living space. And that's a good option to have out there. And later on, once you start getting more into permanent living, then what you want to have is you want to have some long-term options. And to have a long lasting support, you could think of maybe building an earthship, or maybe have an eco-dome. There's options out there for scob or straw bale houses. Might even be some existing structures that you can retrofit. All good options, but all of these are longer plans. And then at the end, if you have, for instance, a shipping container, then you can build it up so that it can you can modify it to actually become more of like a house eventually. So all of these are good options. Lastly, step number 5. Step number 5 is make the move. And so I want to tell you how I'm going to make the move. I can make all kinds of presentations about that, but in the end is just about doing it. It's about stepping in. And so for that, I'm going to switch on to this camera right there. And I'm going to show you guys. So stick with me and we're going to show you where I'm at right now. So, by the way, if you guys want to have a little bit of proof of one of those situations where you can get a paradigm shift Patreon in view, well, this is the studio. So this is our setup right now. It's a little bit of a, well, semi-permanent setup, but here we go. Here you can see what we're having right here. This is my Caravan. So I was gifted this Caravan, and I'm very happy with it. And this has become my mobile home. And so I'm going to show you guys. So let me see if I can turn this around. There we go. So welcome to the new home. And yeah, we're still building on this. So for instance, it had a broken hinge. So we're fixing the hinge. And yeah, this is the inside. And I did some on the lighting. So moved some lighting in. And here you can see all the places we could go with this mobile home. Because, you know, we don't have to just move to the land. We can travel a little bit in between too. And yeah. Just a little kitchen and a bed right there. So yeah, we're still figuring this out. What you can see right here. Let me get it into frame. So this frame right here. This is another thing that I gathered, and it's a window. And what is the window for, you think? Well, that's another thing that we have. And that is right there. And this is my shipping container. So I bought 2 shipping containers. I bought them in an auction, and they were full of materials and installing materials. I put this door in. I'm kind of happy with that. Thought it did very well. And the inside, well, we still need to work on that. So we still need to build a lot of things inside. So this can become the future studio. And yeah, all of our equipment, everything that we need, it can all go in there. We can actually have a lot of all of our modern necessities. We can load them inside, something that you will not be able to bring with you on a Caravan. Everything will fit into a shipping container. This is the one that I have, and I also have another one which is standing somewhere else right now. So I cannot show you that right now, but yeah, we have all kinds of things right here. For instance, there's a freezer that I'm taking with me. There's a bed. There's a washing machine, and here we have a fridge right there, and some cabinets right there. Everything is kind of in a disheveled order, so it's might look a little bit like everything is not really into an organized fashion, but that is how things are when you move. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little sneak peek behind the camera. See what's moving on. This is what I've been working on for a long time, and I'm very happy to share it with you guys. And I hope you guys are willing to go with me on this journey, and I hope you guys are really enjoying this adventure that we're gonna go on together. So if you like that, then please consider subscribing. please make sure that, that you hit that button only once. If you click it twice, then you're unsubscribing again. So make sure it's on. Also, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please make sure that to show the algorithm that you're really enjoying this kind of content. Don't forget to leave a comment down below if there's other things that you want to see in here. If I've showed you something and it made you curious and you're worrying about something, or you think like, oh, has he thought about this? Has he thought about that? Then make sure that you put something down in the comments, and I'll let you know how I'm thinking about that. Also, don't forget to visit our sponsors, and if you don't want to visit our sponsors, then please make sure you become a Patreon and you get the episodes without any sponsorships. So with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we'll see you next week. Bye bye.